Rabbi Reuven mentioned the Hayoim Yoim of Chav Ches Nissan. So there it says as follows. It says that Chassidim asked the Alter Rebbe, which avodah is a greater avodah, the love of Hashem or love of fellow Jew? And then the Alter Rebbe answered that loving Hashem and loving a fellow Jew are both of them etched in the neshama, nefesh, ruach, neshama, on all the levels of soul of every single yid. And since the pasuk says that the Eibishter says, "Ahafti eschem Omar Hashem," the Eibishter says, "I love you." So Harei, we see from here that Avas Yisrael is greater because you love the one that you love the one that your beloved loves. Now it's really interesting because we know that in addition to Hayoim Yoim being filled with gems and pearls and the most powerful teachings for higher daily living, we know that there are so many secrets, we call it razin, secrets, and secrets of secrets to be found in Hayoim Yoim. And so many times we didn't find out till many years later what's the significance of a certain passage, why it's connected to that particular day. For instance, you have on Gimel Tammuz, where the Rebbe is talking about a Yiddish krechts, how powerful Jewish krechts is, a sigh of a Jew, the sigh coming from a broken heart, and how that's considered tshuva. And we know that in the history of Chabad, there is no day that brings forth such a krechts like Gimel Tammuz. And the Rebbe wrote that already, put that in so many years before the Gimel Tammuz that has brought that krechts. The same is also regarding Chav Bei Shvat. So it's not on Chav Bei Shvat, but on the day before and the day after Chav Bei Shvat, it's all about the milo, all the quality of Jewish women. And turns out that Chav Bei Shvat is the yahrzeit of the Rebbetzin. And that's when there is all the focus on Jewish women and Kiddush HaShluchis and all that. So we see that there is, I don't know if you want to refer to it, you want to see it as Hashgacha Pratis, or Ruach HaKodesh, or Nevuah, depending on whichever level you're plugging into the Rebbe. But whatever it is, we see these unbelievable things. So I think it's really, really telling that on Chav Ches Nisan, in which the Rebbe, we can say, dropped the bomb, where the Rebbe took the responsibility of bringing Mashiach and rolled it over onto the shoulders of each and every one of us, that the Hayoim Yoim is particularly this Hayoim Yoim, where it's talking about the quality and the superiority of Avas Yisrael, how that is superior even to Avas Hashem, is very telling. Because as soon as the Rebbe put the responsibility of bringing Mashiach on us, obviously that shook us up, and we had to go into action. It was a powerful call for action, unlike any other call that Rebbe has given us, and we felt tremendous responsibility. And we were all racking our minds, our brains, of what can we do in order to make it happen. And we came up with, and obviously, as we know, just like our physical image, we look differently, our facial features are different, there are no two human beings that are the same. So too is the spiritual dynamics of everybody's neshama, and the mind of every person is different. Especially the Alter Rebbe says that it has to do also with where our neshama is rooted. Our neshamas that come from chesed, and our neshamas that come from gevura. Our neshamas is rooted in different places. We think differently. Our brains are wired differently. So when we're given a task, obviously we're going to approach it from different angles. So there were different of opinions of what we need to do in order to bring Mashiach. And these different of opinions formed groups. And from the groups, it led to a situation where there came a situation where Yaakov says it. Yaakov didn't say it as a negative thing. He was talking about praising Hashem. He was a small family. Now he became two camps. But we know that the fact that Adas HaChasidim have splintered into two groups is a problematic situation. So the Rebbe says in Hayoim Yoim, Chav Ches Nisan, on the day of what we can say is the root, which led to this great rift and great divide. The Rebbe says that when you have two inyanim that clash with each other, you have Avas Hashem and Avas Yisrael. What's the drive to bring Mashiach? The drive to bring Mashiach is because of the deep etched drive that we have, because we love the Eibishter. Mashiach, who needs Mashiach? Mashiach is nice for us, but the real inyan of Bias Mashiach, as the Alter Rebbe said it, it's all about this Ava HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the purpose of all of creation, all of existence. The Eibishter wants to have a home, and we are doing the Eibishter's thing. This is the purpose of all of Torah and mitzvahs. It's all to lead, and this is what the Eibishter, right? So when it says over here in Hayom Yom, when you have a drive driven by Avas Hashem, with all the zealousness and all the intensity that can lead a person to, yet that may not in any way diminish, it cannot cancel or even compromise in any way on Avas Yisrael, and loving on a fellow Jew. Even if the other person is not thinking exactly like me, even if I have a different opinion of what needs to be done in order to bring Mashiach. And even if we're talking about the most crucial thing, the purpose of everything, which is Bias Mashiach. And therefore I feel that this is like everything and everything, yet I cannot forgo on Avas Yisrael, on loving another. And the reason is, so the Rebbe says, because you love the one that your beloved loves. And I think that the meaning of it, you love your beloved, but still you love the one that your beloved loves. And I think this touches upon the idea of what we learn in Chassidus B'Negeya, Mi Kadma Lami, what comes first? Torah or Yisrael? What's first? Is Torah first or Yidden first? What's Mashiach? Bias Mashiach is the effect of all of Torah and mitzvahs. And the Eibishter wants the full realization, and we know that when Mashiach will come, will be the full shleimus of Torah and mitzvahs, the observance of Torah. Why do we want Mashiach? Because we want shleimus of Torah and mitzvahs, and we want the outcome of Torah and mitzvahs. But it's still the will of the Eibishter where Hashem loves Torah and Hashem loves mitzvahs. But even deeper than what Hashem loves, it's what Hashem is. Yidden, a Yid, Jews are mushrash, as we learn in Chassidus, and Atzmos Mamish, and the Eibishter himself, even deeper than Torah. And therefore, as the Rebbe explains, but again, Moshe Rabbeinu broke the luchos, and he was megala, the eskashvus atzmos, that the Eibishter has with him and Yidden. Now, just like it is regard the Eibishter in general, it's the same thing as with tzaddikim, the channel of Hashem to this world. And we know tzaddikim doimim l'bayra. As much as the Rebbe, from the very moment the Rebbe became, when the Rebbe was a little child, the Rebbe's dreams Mashiach is when the Rebbe says, from when I went to Cheder, the Rebbe breathed Mashiach, the entire existence is Mashiach. And Basi Legani, the whole Messias began with the whole purpose of Mashiach in the world. Yet there's something deeper than that, and that is his love to every single Jew, but particularly there's a Ava Pnimiyus from the Rebbe to his Chassidim, to his children mamish, like the Rebbetzin said, these doesn't an unsere Kinder, these are our kids. And therefore, chas v'shalom, that just because we have different ideas, and it may be on the most important thing, but chas v'shalom, it should cause a dismissal of another person, of another chassid. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to think the same. It doesn't mean that we have to agree. No, we all think differently, and we need to operate in the kav that we believe in, that this is the right thing to do. There's no question about that. Of course, it would help if we get together and discuss and bring what we call the oiris to toyu and the kalim to tikkun together. Yes, that's the formula that Rebbe gave us. But even if we haven't figured out exactly how to do that, even if I disagree with you, you don't stop being my brother. You're my fellow brother, you're my brother, you're my sister. We're all kulanu b'nei ish echad. We're all children of one father. Av echad lekulana, that the Alter Rebbe says. And it's amazing that this is the Hayom Yom for Chav Ches Nisan. It's like Higdim Refuah. The Rebbe already put the Refuah over there. Know that no matter what you're going to do, and no matter what it is, foremost, you can't isolate, you can't separate yourself. We are one people, we are all together. Now, interesting, this is true about all times. Now that we've had this horrible pandemic, and with all the horror that it has brought, and it wreaked havoc on the Jewish world, and it wreaked havoc on Hadassah Chassidim. And so I think it's so much of importance, and particularly at this time, to take this seriously, into deep consideration, and make a strong cheshbon hanefesh deep inside each and every one of us. This is not for anybody to think about the other person's Avos Yisrael. This is about our Avos Yisrael, but Pnimius Nafshesenu, on how we react and how we feel towards one another. Because it says, everybody's familiar, that it says regarding the armies of David HaMelech, that the armies of David HaMelech, when they went to war, the Nebuch, a lot of them were fell at war. But the armies of Achav, even though they were not tzaddikim and they were Ovdei Avodah Zarah, yet they would go to battle and everybody came back. And the reason is because the Shekhinah, the Eibishter, can only dwell where there is Shalom and there is Achdus. The Eibishter is Hashem Echad. Hashem Echad means he's Ma'achid, he unifies all the factions, he brings everything together. And only that, Barcheinu Avinu, our Father, can only dwell and come down and give his blessing, Kulanu Ki Echad, where there is Achdus. Le'motzah Kodesh Baruch Hu, Keli Machzik Bracha, the Eibishter has not found the Keli, Ella HaShalom, only peace. And therefore, where there is peace, there is Hashras HaShechina. Where there is Hashras HaShechina, there's no Malach HaMavis. So we're not, now here the issue is not Chas v'Shalom, what's causing. No one knows what caused this horror. Obviously, in terms of the greater event and how this impacted the whole world, it's incomprehensible. We thought Mashiach is only coming through Chesed v'Rachamim, and things happen and we don't understand. And definitely is a Shlav and Bias Mashiach, as you see the global effect that it has. But this, that it had such a, it affected us so, and it caused so much the histalkus of Chassidim, Anshe Maisa. We got such a blow when we looked at every day what has happened, and the Rahman should stop and should be over completely. But one thing is for sure, that the Shmira that we have, the Shmira that the Eibishter protects us, is when we stand ba'achdus and we stand in unity. And that's true regarding getting rid of negative things. But when it comes to the most important thing, and that is Bias HaMashiach, Bias HaMashiach, as we said earlier, is related to the Shleimus and the full bringing about of what Torah and Mitzvahs is all about. The Torah was given only for one purpose, to make peace in the world. And Chassidus explains, because Torah is about, it's the drawing down of the Eibishter. And the Eibishter, only mitzad the Eibishter can be the achdus of opposite things that clash with each other. And Torah, as we know, the union of Torah is olam hatikun. Torah is related to the idea of tikkun. Tikkun is hiskalalus. Tikkun is unification. In olam hatoyu, in the world of Toyu, there were extremes. And it's not that these were bad extremes. The extreme of chesed is the Eibishter's chesed. Extreme chesed, it's justifiably, it's chesed. It's God's chesed, but God's chesed, it doesn't leave room for anything else. Gevura is extreme Gevura. It's Gevura, it's the Eibishter's Gevura. It's holy. It's one of the spheres of the Eibishter. But they're clashing with each other. And there it can't be the hashra of the Oirin Soif himself, the Eibishter himself, because Olam HaToyu cannot facilitate. As right and as true as each one is. In Olam HaTikun there is bittul, and where there is bittul, even though there are differences, but they come together and they harmonize. And in that harmonization, through their bittul, there can be the hashra and the dwelling of the Eibishter himself. And that's the secret of Tiferes, which is number 3. There's 1, 2, and 3. Number 3 is the number of Iskalalus. So Torah and Mitzvahs is all about this Iskalalus, and that's what Bias HaMashiach is. So here there's a fascinating idea. If we should be Mason Lay, we should take to heart. We just passed this year Pesach, the year 3,332 second anniversary, 3,332nd anniversary since Yetzias Mitzrayim. That means that we just entered into the 3,333rd year of since Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's the shleimus of Olam HaTikun. Tikun is number 3. That's why the Torah was given on the 3rd month and on the third day, and through Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the 3rd one in the family, as the Gemara says, the Shabbos, all the things of number 3. So we're living at the ultimate perfection, the perfection of 3, 3, 3, 3, which is Olam HaTikun. That means that it's time to do away with the conduct of Toihu. The conduct of Toivu is extremism that does not allow unification. There has to be the understanding that you can have your shita and I can have my shita, and I can believe so very strongly, and we can argue, and we can get very passionate in our argument, but right, and at the conclusion of the argument, as Vahes Basufa, it brings to deep love. At the conclusion of the argument, I hug you and I embrace you and I say, brother, I love you. And even though we're walking away and I haven't convinced you, and you walked away, we're walking away, each one of us with different opinions of what we need to do. But yet, I love you because you're my brother. And I'd like to conclude with one very powerful teaching. The Rebbe says regarding Mechiras Yosef. During the selling of Yosef, there were, as we know, the 12 brothers, and Binyamin wasn't there, so there was 11 brothers. Now, and it says that there was a minyan by Mechiras Yosef. Why did there have to be a minyan by Mechiras Yosef? The reason is because Mechiras Yosef entailed within itself two things. Externally, Mechiras Yosef led to Golus Mitzrayim, the exile, and internally, Mechiras Yosef was actually part of Geulas Mitzrayim. It gave the power for the Geulah. Because when the brothers took Yosef, and because Yosef went down to Mitzrayim before everybody else, he was able to do the primary work. And had Yosef not gone down as a trailblazer to Mitzrayim, we would have never been able to overcome Klipas Mitzrayim. And even stronger than that, it not only did Yosef have to go first, but he had to go through the brothers selling him. And the Rebbe explains, because when the brothers took Yosef and they took possession of him, they became his master. Now that they sold Yosef, and so he was their servant, he was the slave, so to speak, of the brothers, because they took possession of him. When they sold Yosef, and Yosef then managed to wiggle his way out from all types of servitude and all kinds of suppressions that the Mitzrim tried to enslave him. When Yosef was able to rise to the top and then become the master over all of Mitzrayim, so he now owns Mitzrayim. They're all his servants, but he is really still the servant of his brother. So now, even before the first Jew walked into Mitzrayim, all of Mitzrayim is really subjugated to the Jewish people. So externally, we became the slaves of Mitzrayim. Internally, Mitzrayim was really belonging to us through Mechiras Yosef. The Rebbe says in order for something like this to happen, there needed to be 10 Jews together by Mechiras Yosef, because only where there's 10 Jews, there's Ashras HaShechina, and only the Shechina could infuse such a redemptive power into Mechiras Yosef. The problem, the Rebbe says, however, if you take a look, there's only 9 brothers there. There isn't 10. So because Reuven wasn't there during Mechiras Yosef, so there's only 9. So the Rebbe says there's 2 opinions. One opinion is that Reuven, even though he wasn't there, he's still Mitzurif, we still count Reuven, because in the end he was maskim with the brothers, he joined them. And another opinion is that Yosef himself is counted. And Yosef is making up the minyan. So it's either Yosef or Reuven. But the Rebbe says an incredible lesson. Both from Reuven and from Yosef, which I think is very, very applicable to each and every one of us. For this cheshbon hanefesh, for this state that we need to do now that we're entering into the years of 333 of Olam HaTikun. This is very, very crucial. Reuven was responsible. Reuven felt that by the brothers, imagine, he went away, he came back, he did whatever he can to save his brother. He planned on bringing him back to Yaakov. He comes back to the boy, and Yosef isn't there. He knows the heartbreak. He knows that his brothers actually took a knife and stabbed Yaakov Avinu, their beloved father, in his heart. He knew that Yaakov will never get over this. And it's very possible that they're sending Yaakov to the grave. Can you imagine that? The feeling of the frustration, the pain that Reuven has. Now let's imagine a moment. Yaakov as the Rebbe, okay? Because we know Nasi stands for Netzutzoi Shel Yaakov Avinu. So Yaakov is Rebbe. So here you have a chassid who sees his brothers, the rest of them, seeing you're making golus. You've destroyed the family. There's no 12 brothers anymore. The family was supposed to have else. He feels that way. He feels very justified. Now, the Rebbe says, had Reuven walked away and said, such choleres, how could you have done what you've done? I have nothing to do with you anymore. I am opening up my own shop. I'm opening up my own shul. I'm opening up my own yeshiva. I'm doing my own thing. You're not my brother anymore. I'm doing my own thing. Had Reuven done that, the Rebbe says, there would not be a minyan, and he would have brought a churban, the ultimate destruction. It would have been just destruction and devastation. Yaakov would have maybe never been reunited with Yosef. The whole Jewish, the whole Jewish ideal and everything, the destiny of the Jewish people would have been ruined. But Reuven did not do that. Reuven never severed himself from being a brother. And then the Rebbe says, let's take a look at Yosef. You know, when people have arguments, the arguments, there's two parts to it. Why do I bother? Number one is the ideological part of it, where you see Reuven and the brothers. And the other one is the emotional, personal offense and the pain. Can we imagine anybody being offended by his brothers, by ever having been mistreated? Yosef was mistreated with the worst mistreatment possible. Okay, his brothers stripped him naked. They threw him into a pit with snakes and scorpions to their own when he was begging and crying, and then they ripped him out of that pit and sold him off as a slave, which basically meant a death sentence. And you're never coming out of it. Now this Yosef, and then he ends up not only as a slave, but he ends up as a criminal, accused for the worst things, and he's languishing in prison. And when he's sitting over there for 12 years, 10 years in a dark cell, and he's thinking about his brothers, he can think and he can say about his brothers, these days, what they've done to me, they're not my brother anymore. Ois family, I can never see myself as being, because they didn't act like brothers. Finished, they're not my brother. And it would have been justified. The abuse, the betrayal, this is the worst betrayal ever. Yet, Yosef not for one moment. Because had Yosef thought that thought and accepted that feeling and allowed that to be his truth, his attitude, then there would not have been a minyan. And had there not have been a minyan, there would not be geula, there wouldn't be redemption. So Yosef did not do that. And like you see later, when the brothers met with him, they said to him, Kulanu b'nei ish echad anachnu. We are all children of one father. And Rashi says it was Ruach HaKodesh. They didn't know what they were saying. And why was it Ruach HaKodesh? Because Yosef felt that way. Yosef never ever severed from the brotherhood. He never ever, because he knew there was something deeper than there's something deeper. We're dealing with essence. We're dealing with essential bonding that's deeper than anything that anybody can think or do. They did the worst atrocities. But still, not that I'm not a brother anymore. And that's the idea. Kulanu b'nei ish echad anu. We are the children of ish echad, the person who's bringing achdus to the entire creation. We are the children of the one whose entire being is to create echad. How can it be that we want to take the inyan of ish echad, of bringing achdus, and chas v'sholem, not have the achdus amongst each other? So what's the poil mamish, I think, Chav Ches Nisan Toshem Pei, that we can do as chassidim? What we can do chassidim is that each and every one of us, not to look at someone else, but in our own hearts, and over the next 24 hours, pick up the phone, call someone that maybe for 25 years, because of your differences of opinions, because the way you feel, you haven't spoken to, you're uncomfortable with, call that person, see how he's doing, have a conversation, connect as old friends, as chassidim, even if you have a different camp and you belong in it. Because why? Kulanu b'nei Yisrael. If there's anything that's going to give our Rebbe a deep satisfaction and nachas, is the unity, and that was the last Farbrengen the Rebbe gave us. Parshas Vayakel was all about achdus of chassidim. So or achdus of the Jewish people, achdus Yisrael. So let's make a strong resolve to be unified, to be together, and to remember Kulanu b'nei ish echad anu. And as a result of this, we will see without any shaila is galus of Melech HaMashiach take from a yad mamish l'chaim and l'brach.